everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I have been off of social media for about a month now as a present to myself for both Christmas and also my birthday. I decided to just step back from social media on all aspects for mental health, and it has been so incredibly amazing. But then I also got hit, boom, bang, boom, with all kinds of funness during that time. My family, and I mean my whole family, extended family, decided to take a trip to Paris together over the holidays. And then when we got back, we decided to celebrate holidays as normal here at my house with Santa unwrapping and all of that chaos. We just recently got all of our holiday decor back down in the house, and I'm trying to clean behind it and get all the glitter and the fluff and the flocking and the pine needles off of everything that's here, basically. And so that's been nice and fun. And we additionally got pounded and just plummeted with snow. So my kids were off an additional week. Yes, an additional entire week from school. And they've just now started back. So while it is beautiful to look out and see all of the white, it is very cold here. And I am not a snow person. I'm going to go ahead and give you updates from basically the week that I left on vacation, which, if I'm looking at this, was my week 44. I am now on week 48. I just took my week 48 injection, so of course I don't have week 48 results. That will not be until next week. And so I'm going to be talking this video about week 44 to week 48 that also fell over the holidays, over traveling, and over hibernation with snow. So let's go ahead and get started. For everyone that this is their absolute favorite part, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you're going to be disappointed today, and I'm disappointed as well. You know, when I last spoke to you all, I was on my 10 milligram. I'm still, as you can see, on 10 milligram. That is what I took today, and I will put up right over here all the different injections that I videoed, because I always video them, right? From week 44 all the way through 48. I hurriedly, and I mean like hurriedly, we stopped at a rest stop before we got to the airport to get on the plane to go to Paris, injected in my thigh so that I did not have to travel with this guy. I have done videos in the past, and I will link that down below, and then also try to do a link up here for everyone on traveling and different things that you can use to travel to try to keep it cold and to monitor the temperatures, the right temperature, or just leave it at room temperature. Personally, my option for traveling with these guys is to just travel with them at room temperature. It's very difficult to try to maintain the correct temperature range during travel, especially with TSA wanting to open it, take all your cooler packs out. Then they leave this off somewhere. Then they come over and you've got multiple people touching all over it. If you guys remember, I also had a TSA agent that went with his face all up in my needle and took the gray cap off and then struggled, trying to get it back on. There's not, I'm just going to say it, there's not great education with TSA on how to handle medications, and most of them don't know what to do, and they don't know what they should be swabbing, and they don't know how to handle different pens like this or vials. So if you do have the Eli Lilly vials, or if you're a compounder and you're trying to travel with vials, think about all the other things that those TSA agents have touched, even if they do have gloves on. And then they're going and they're touching your vial that you're then going to inject into. And granted, I know that people are cleaning it with alcohol, but still, that's not going to get everything. And I am just not a big fan of traveling with these after that experience I had trying to take this out to, I think it was like Vegas, Yellowstone, something like that. Not a fan. So I went ahead and I took my injection I think it was like 12 hours early or something like that, before I went for a week-long Paris trip with my family. Was fine. And then I ended up taking it like a 24 hours later than I should be taking it when I got home. Whatever. No, it's not suggested to do that, but for myself and the hassle of trying to get through multiple security checkpoints and customs going into another country with medicine, I was like, no, that's not worth it to me. I have teeter-tottered back and forth for the entire week 44 up through 47, going into week 48. For those reasons, of course, my Weight Watchers clinic specialist says, hey, like, how are you doing on this 10? Like, are you able to eat? Are you not able to eat? Are you having cravings? Are you wanting different foods? And quite honestly, no. I don't want to eat. I can't really even force myself to eat. Even just drinking a protein shake in the morning is like, I don't want to do it, but I'm forcing myself to do it to try to get the protein in. I've tried, and this is what I'm agreeing with her to try to do. I am trying to eat much smaller meals more frequently. And so instead of just doing your typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or breakfast, 2 snacks, small dinner, I am every few hours setting myself a reminder that goes off on my watch to go grab a handful of berries, or go grab a handful of nuts, or go take one of your tiny chicken strips and cut it up and force yourself to eat it. The problem that I'm having with me, this is my body. This has always been my body. This has always been my issue. If I don't eat, I don't lose weight. I don't gain muscle. I don't lose weight. I have like more IBS-C problems because I'm just not eating and nothing's moving and nothing's flowing. And that has basically been my issue with the 10 milligram. I don't want to eat. It's hard to force myself to eat. And I'm not eating. I'm not getting near enough calories. I'm not getting near enough protein. My goal is still around 90 grams of protein a day. Drink tons of water. And look at this. You would think I would want to have this all the time with me. Look how gorgeous this cup is for Valentine's Day. Yeah, and I'll link that down for you guys down below too, because this is one of my favorite cups. I try to force myself to drink 3 of these every day. In doing that, in trying to just drink 3 of these every day, and then forcing myself to attempt to have a protein shake in the morning. And if I'm not having a protein shake, then I'm trying to make myself have some type of protein, like a sausage patty, something like that is going to help me like kind of kickstart the day with protein. If you guys recall, I don't do dairy, so there's a lot of things that are kind of cut out for me. When I was on keto and I needed to get added protein and not have carbs, I'm eating a lot of cheese. I would go eat Greek yogurt, and that really helped me. And a lot of that is just kind of stripped away and taken away. And I follow as closely as I possibly can. Now, that does not mean that I'm not going to go up the road to my favorite Mexican restaurant and they've cooked in the mix that goes into my shrimp tacos some onions, okay? That does not mean that I'm not going to just leave that in there, pick those onions out to the best of my ability, and I may or may not still have an onion. That's going to happen, and the point of what I do is I try to limit it as much as possible as far as the things that I'm not supposed to be eating. However, I went to go eat with one of my really good friends here, and her husband is a doctor, and they ordered the charcuterie board and the cheese plate as an appetizer for us to start. And of course, like, there's a lot of like pickled onions, pickled carrots, things like that on one side of the board. And I'm also not supposed to have like any type of fermented foods. So I like kind of just kept reaching for the meats on the board, right? And of course he's like, oh, you should try this. These are delicious. Oh, you should try these cheeses. And I said, I'm really not supposed to have these things. I try to follow the FODMAP. I'm not going to eat any of the cheese, but I am going to have one of these pickled carrots or this pickled green bean because I love the way that it tastes. I'm going to have that with my meat, and that's going to be that. And I said, my GI specialist wants me to completely cut out dairy. However, I'm also the type of person that I feel like when you completely remove a food item 100%, that can lead to like even further issues where you have a bacteria in your gut trying to then leave your gut, and then it makes my autoimmune disease even worse. So I will try to have tiny, small amounts of dairy here and there. Maybe it's like cheese that's on something that I'm eating, something like that. Nothing in excess to where I'm still getting some type of amount of it, just not enough that is going to cause a ton of upset. However, I have stayed the exact same weight for the past month. I have teeter-tottered back and forth between, you guys, my goals are typically in a 10-pound increment. And I get down within like that 10-pound increment and I'm like, okay, now I'm down into these 10 pounds. So my next goal is to get down to the next 10 pounds, right? And so my teeter-totter has been so incredibly annoying because it's right on one of the 10-pound marks where it's like, if I gain a pound or two, I'm up in these 10 pounds. If I lose a pound, I'm down in these 10 pounds. And so I've been extremely agitated because I keep teetering back and forth between this one single mark. And I know for me, I'm not having food noise. The problem I'm having is I don't want to eat anything. Like I have to physically force myself to choke things down. I do not want it. And so a lot of times I'm just not eating it because I can't physically force myself to eat it. And so I know I'm driving my husband insane as well because I keep trying to go to like what I know some of my favorite places to eat are, or my favorite foods are, to try to like ignite myself to eat it. And even then it doesn't taste the same to me anymore. So it's hard for me to force myself to eat it. And I did have this discussion with the Weight Watchers Clinic specialist because they are moving me to the 12.5 already. And I told them I'm already having GI issues. I see my GI specialist this next Friday. I've also told her office if they can see me sooner, I would love to come in sooner. Because if you guys recall, she's been out on maternity. I could not get in to see anyone else. They took me off of Linzess, put me on something I had a severe allergic reaction to, and so I just went back to the original Trulance that I've been on that's not really doing anything for me. So I know that I'm stopped up. I know that I'm not eating since I've been on the 10 milligram, and now they're wanting to bump me up to a 12.5. I'm really nervous. I was nervous about going to the 10 because I feel like for me, 10 was like this mental hurdle of, I don't really want to go on a 10. I thought I was going to like stay 7.5 and lower the entire time as far as dosage, the titration level goes. Moving up to the 12.5 also for me mentally is like a strain for me to kind of wrap my head around because I've verbally, physically told the doctors, like texting it out to them as well. I feel like the last time I could eat, work out, and my weight was moving was all the way back when I was on the 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. And so I sit here and I'm currently on week 48. So I'm coming up on my 1 full year of being on this medicine. And I am going to show you guys a chart right over here that shows what the clinical trial patients are losing based on what dosage they're on by the weeks, right? And then I'm also going to put a circle over here on where I currently am and what my weight loss currently is at the week that I am at for the same chart so that you can see a comparison. And I have always trended kind of right along with this. The biggest issue that I have is, are we going to keep bumping me up on this and I physically can't eat, right? And it's going to get to the point where I'm not eating, I have more GI issues, I'm not losing weight, and I'm on the highest dose. And that's kind of where I sit right now. And I even asked like, hey, at what point would we trial me going back down, like even going all the way back down to a 2.5? What does that look like? Would I need to completely come off the medicine for a month or two, a couple of months maybe, and then go back on it at a 2.5 level because I've been off of it for a couple of months. Like, what does that actually look like? And of course, they don't want to discuss that until we've gotten to the highest dose, right? And we see what happens. You know, it's kind of like let's cross that bridge when we get there. But in my mind, just so that all of you guys know, that's kind of where I stand right now. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, man, do I need to just come off of this medicine and be off of it for a few months and see how it goes, and then try to rotate back on the lower dose again and try to stay on the 2.5 as long as I possibly can. And that's kind of where my mind is right now. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts down below. I know a lot of people think that I'm a little loopy for thinking that, you know, continuing to titrate up is like a bad thing, because the goal, you know, according to the trials, is to get to 15, right? The 15 milligram. And 15 milligram on the grand scheme of things is not that much, considering I take a 300 milligram of Cosentyx every month. I'm also battling that front. I go for another MRI mid-February to look and see how Cosentyx has been performing and doing, because I have been having breakout symptoms and breakout pain and inflammation even on the Cosentyx, as well as the continued weight gain on the Cosentyx. I will tell everybody that I gained 7 pounds on my Cosentyx during this 4-week period that I'm discussing, that I've teeter-tottered the same weight. So in reality, I did lose 7 pounds that I had gained 7 pounds on the Cosentyx. It's just the same overall weight is still there. And I have agreed with my husband that we're going to start lifting weights. We're going to start doing a little bit more cardio. And so hopefully we will see some changes with that as well. And now I'm going to get into a very brief GLP-1s in the news. Going to be great news for some people. Some people are going to be real happy about this. And if my insurance ends up changing, or like sending me something like all these other people are getting, and running to the news about there's no way they can stop, they can't do this to me. You know, there's a woman in Pennsylvania, for instance, that I saw that's in the news that is definitely speaking out about Blue Cross Blue Shield canceling on her. I have another friend who is in the state of New York that has Blue Cross Blue Shield through the state of New York. And of course, they also will not cover it for her. And so she's also having to do the Eli Lilly cash pay vials. What's great about in the news right now, as of today, I believe, is the CEO of Eli Lilly, David Ricks, is coming through and saying that he recognizes that it is too expensive, even at the lower doses of the vials, for cash pay. Therefore, they are going to start offering other titrations in their cash pay vials, which is great, which means they're also going to then try to level out the pricing of those. My thought process is that they're just going to kind of shift things around. I really look for them to do probably the 2.5 more around the 200 or 250 mark. Then they will probably have the 5 more around the 300 or 350 mark. 7.5, I'll say, will probably be around 450, and then they'll go up from there. I look for them to at least go up to the 10 milligram in vials. I've not seen anything yet on what the actual dosage is that they will be offering. I do know that for people who are on the lower doses, that's great news for them, because then they're going to spend less to get the actual brand name. Or if you're in maintenance, you're going to spend less to get the actual brand name of these drugs. I know that their stock has gone tumbling a little bit down, and that was unexpected, because they're saying that, hey, the demand for our drug is not what we thought it was. And the fact of the matter is that it is there, and people are using it, but they are using the compounded versions. The FDA has already come out and said, hey, compounding needs to cease and desist. That is not stopping anybody. It's really not. It's not stopping anybody. And I've even seen people posting things like this. And I know that this person is going to get like such a tickled fancy for me putting this on here, because they absolutely love for anyone to talk about anything that they're doing. And will even like post again about what they took down because people were talking about it. I see people that are going and buying a year's worth of compounds. And I personally cannot say enough that you need to go and heed the warnings of the FDA. You need to actually look and see that these drugs are not stable, typically for more than 45 days, that they increase in potency the longer they sit once they have been mixed, depending on what other additives they've been mixed with and in what titration they are in. Additionally, how you don't know if they were mixed like right before they were sent to you or if they've already been sitting. And so I personally do not recommend for anyone to get more than a 45-day supply. And that can even be a little tricky if you're not getting a very fresh supply when you get it. I personally, knowing the organic chemistry makeup of these amino acid chains and how they can completely transform once they have been mixed with other additives, I don't believe that people should be taking these. That's my personal opinion. I know that there's a lot of people saying, hey, I can't afford the name brand. I get that too. They're coming out with more vials. They're going to be lowering the price when it comes to Eli Lilly's Tirzepatide. So there's Zepbound and their Mounjaro to try to get people access to it. I myself was in a Dollar Tree yesterday. Yes, I love Dollar Trees, by the way, just so you guys know. A little tidbit about me. I love the Dollar Tree. I was buying the stackable eggs so that I can paint them, right, and do like fun crafts with them. And the woman in front of me told me that both her sister and her best friend were in the hospital with pancreatitis. Okay. This has like become like a rampant thing, just everywhere, not just around where I am. Of course, where I am, it's like real bad. Everyone is on these drugs. The majority of people are on a compounded version. And what's absolutely insane is that we are less than 2 hours away from Eli Lilly in Indianapolis. And that's how big this has gotten, just right in their own backyard. So I know that they're not necessarily worried about their stock, because they do, if you guys recall, have retatrutide coming out, which in 48 weeks, they have a 22% weight loss with retatrutide. So they know that that's already going to be like a home run for them once it does get released. Again, if you see anything for retatrutide out there, it is a compounded version that is not FDA approved, and it also has not been released for human consumption or use yet. They also have I believe it's pronounced orforglipron. That is the pill version of a GLP-1. So it's a pill Wegovy or a pill Ozempic that they expect to come out sometime, I would say end of year next year, for the public as well. So they have a lot in their pipeline as to why they're not like so worried about their current stock price. They know the demand is there. It's just trying to get the compounders to cease and desist making their product that they have a patent on here in the United States, that they did the research on, and they want the funding to continue to fund other things. And I personally 100% back that. And I feel like anyone here, if you really kind of took yourself out of it and your feelings out of it and thought to yourself, if I invented something and I spent all of my money on researching it and clinical trialing it and making sure it works and manufacturing it and getting it out and selling it and paying all the transportation for that, and then my next door neighbor decided that they were going to copy it and make it for less, you bet your sweet bottom dollar I'm going to go and sue them, because I own the patent on it. And I think that when people kind of remove their emotions from it a little bit, they're able to understand it a little bit more. I personally am also going to send my money for medication to a facility that is continuing to do research on other drugs as well, not just a pharmacy that's mixing up stuff, sending it out, doing absolutely no research, absolutely no checks on the materials that they are mixing up for me, and then just shipping it out of my door. That's not going to be for me ever. I will also say that Eli Lilly has asked to join all of the lawsuits against the FDA when it comes to the GLP-1 copycat or compounded version of the drugs. The reason that they were joining in on this, and I'm sure that Novo Nordisk was probably going to do the exact same thing, is because they do not fully believe that the FDA is going to represent their interests to its fullest, or really even have the manpower behind them legally to be able to fight that. So this has turned into a massive war, just like I thought that it was going to be. And for instance, Eli Lilly has picked up 2 additional that they are now suing. It is the Valhalla Vitality and then also the Thrive Health Wellness. And these are 2 of the bigger ones that are always running ads on Facebook. I personally received text messages from Valhalla Vitality trying to get me to buy in bulk. And I only get those messages because I had reached out to them, asking them and trying to do research for all of you on like where they're mixing their stuff up from, like where is their C of A for their Tirzepatide or their semaglutide, like what is it that they're making? Are there additives in it? And they are very hush-hush about that. And I will say that just because these lawsuits are going on has not stopped new people popping up trying to get a piece of the pie as well. I personally had this email from a new platform that is trying to push out their Tirzepatide to people. My response back to them, or Joe's response back to them, was, hey, if you can provide us with all your quality documents, your C of A for what it is you're making, where it's coming from, where it's going to ship out to people every time, then we will review it to look to see if we would be interested in working with you. This is their response back to me, which is basically saying, oh, we're so sorry that we're not going to be able to work with you because we're not going to share jack doo-doo with you, but we want you to still go push us to everybody and then we'll just pay you. Can you just do that? And the answer is no. I am not going to do that. I am not that type of creator. There are tons and tons and tons of other creators that are just going to do whatever they can to push to get theirs for free or to get paid off of it. Now, in the past, I have, and I still do, work with Emerge. Yes, you can get $50 off your first 2 shipments with them, and I'll put a link down below. But Emerge also is medical professionals. Check 1. They check to make sure that you are who you say you are. Check 2. They have conversations with you. They can prescribe you other things like Zofran, and they're prescribing from like the largest compounding facilities that are here that also follow GMP procedures. Okay, that also, if possible, are not adding in other additives to what they're producing. So I am not going to push something to my audience just because people are throwing money at me. I really could care less about their money, just so that you guys are aware. So there's really, I'm going to be honest with you guys, the majority of the stories that I've seen over the last 4 weeks are like repeat stories that we've already gone over in the past in the news, right? Eli Lilly has a superb, bigger weight loss than Novo Nordisk. Yeah, like, come on. You can read the clinical trials yourself. I don't feel like that's really like news worthy, right? Like if you can read, you can go read these things. I mean, obviously like a 14-ish% is lower than a 20-ish%, right? I mean, if you don't know that, I have a 5-year-old in kindergarten that can help you guys out figuring out which one is greater. And that's kind of how I feel about the news right now. I think that they're really like struggling, trying to figure out what it is they are going to be pushing out. And of course, we also have a whole new administration that's getting ready to come in as well. And as so many of the reels on Instagram are saying, they're just ready for RFK to be unleashed on the world. And I'm sure everyone has gotten on social media and seen all the things about all the red dyes and all the yellow dyes and go buy all of this. I mean, there was one man I saw on Facebook that was buying 4 carts of the little Debbie Christmas trees because the man is afraid he's never going to get one again. I mean, it is unreal how people are acting and behaving over this. So let's just all sit back and see how it goes. I will continue to post any type of article that I think is really newsworthy or really exciting over in the community tab on my YouTube channel. So make sure that you're going over there and checking that out. I've been getting lots and lots of comments on my very first Tirzepatide video. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I'm on week 48 now. You guys should follow the series. So make sure that you're kind of following the series along. You can skip ahead or go back or look at the titles and see if you're interested in watching different ones and just see how I'm doing overall. I will put up right over here for you all as well how much weight I have lost total for the 47 weeks that I've been on this medicine. And then I'm going to try to go back and also put up for you all how long I stayed on each one of the doses, because that seems to be a main question that I get from people. So I do want to try to go back and figure that out a little bit for myself, which is probably going to be a little bit of me looking into my pharmacy, what I've picked up from the pharmacy history a little bit, or maybe even my Weight Watchers Clinic document notes to see how long I've stayed on different things. And if I can figure that out quickly, I will also put it up over here for you guys as well. I am going to try to go back to my weekly video because I've had a lot of people reaching out to me. Now that I've finally logged back into social media, I do see your DMs coming through on Instagram. I do see the comments of hey, where you at? Hey, what's going on? What is happening? This is my new puppy, just so you guys know. His name is Teddy T. Niffler. And he is a niffler. He loves anything that is shiny, shimmery, something that he can get off the charm that hangs from Frankie's neck. So I now have 2 Frenchies. I have Frankie Sinatra and I have Teddy T. Niffler. They're both boy Frenchies. One is a blue, blue brindle, and then the other is a lilac and tan. So say hello to Teddy and Frankie, and they have been complete handfuls. So I am sorry that I have been kind of mental health pushed back from social media, but I do 100% recommend that, especially when you're kind of trying to figure out what you're going to be doing on these medicines and how it's really going for you. You want to just kind of step back from social media and all the madness going on with everything and really just kind of think for yourself and tap more into how you're feeling. I will update you guys next week. That will be my first week on the 12.5 milligrams. So I do want to for sure do a video next week after I've done that and I'm about a day or 2 in. So wait for that within the next, I'd say 10 days so that I can get the video fully edited so that it's not so harsh for you guys. Of course, I can always go back to using all my lighting and the screens and different things like that if that's better for you guys, or if you find that more entertaining, or if you like it a little more let's just sit and have coffee and water together. I'm up for whatever you guys need and whatever you guys want, because I'm here ultimately to give all of you an update and build a community with all of you guys. So again, I'm Jen at KetosisMom. You can also follow me at Living Large and Lily. My Like to Know It is still in the top 1% over on Like to Know It. Woohoo for me, right? So I'm really excited for that. Make sure that you're following me over on Like to Know It, where you can do shopping. You can see a lot of what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, what my dogs are doing. You can also follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Living Large and Lily, even though I hate TikTok and it might be banned. We'll see. And of course, over at KetosisMom on Instagram as well. What I'm going to try to start doing is I'm going to try to start talking a little bit more about how I'm eating over on the KetosisMom Instagram. So let's follow over there if you guys are more interested in that. And if you're just more interested in what I'm doing and what's going on with my dogs and my family, that would be at Living Large and Lily. So I'll talk to you guys later, and I will hopefully see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.